Mark Kennedy with us this morning, former U.S. congressman and director of the Wahba Institute for Strategic Competition. Thanks for being here. Mark, do you agree with the representative there that the Biden administration does play a role in this recent deal and meeting between Iran and Saudi Arabia?
Well, Biden was very critical of Saudi Arabia during his campaign. The U.S. has been recently reluctant to arm Saudi Arabia and to be responsive when they had attacks from Iran. So there is a push by Saudi Arabia to be more independent. Also, the framing of the conflict that we have, the competition we have with China as being democracies versus autocracies, also is an implicit message that Saudi Arabia thinks that maybe they should be less dependent on the United States.
How do you perceive China's role in being able to be in the room, broker this deal, and bring forth this meeting?
Well, it's a win for China. I mean, they are establishing themselves as an alternative for a rules-based order. They're also concerned that we're trying to contain them, and this makes sure that they don't lose that access to Middle East oil. It further helps them neutralize the sanctions of the West with Iran, now having trading relationships more expanded with Saudi Arabia. And just as they've reduced the impact of sanctions in Russia, it allows them to do the same in Iran. And it also helps them be perceived with their own people and with the global South as a peace-loving nation that's trying to push for peace.
What do you think that Israel will make of all of this?
It's very concerning to Israel because it keeps Israel on the outside. They view Iran having a bomb as an existential threat. This limits their ability for action, and it is a concern for Israel.
Xi Jinping and the consolidation of his government right now, we've seen it in the recent elections. What are the larger implications of that, given where things stand with U.S.-China relations?
Well, having all the power concentrated in one person makes it more likely that you're going to be having action quickly, and that's a key concern. He clearly has a lot of ambition. This helps stoke that ambition by putting him on a world stage, showing progress. So there's many reasons for us to be concerned with the state of affairs and the concentration of power within China.
And he's also getting rid of term limits, meaning he wants to stay in power for as long as he can. What do we know about those he's surrounding himself with, those he's let rise to power and help him to overcome what he may be trying to do?
Well, we know that the people he's surrounding himself with are yes people, not people that will challenge and try to limit his action. So that's a concern. And as we look at that concentration of power, again, more likely that you're going to be having aggressive action than less aggressive action.
Right now, there is a lot of concern about the relationship between the U.S. and China, and Russia is at the forefront of that conversation. China has not condemned Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. What do you make of the reticence to do so on China's part?
Well, China clearly views Russia as a very valuable ally. When you think of the resources that it gives them access to, when you think of their capabilities in space, when you think of the fact that even if the Ukraine war moves on, that there would also be a second front option if there was ever action in Taiwan. They want to make sure that they keep Russia close. It's a huge benefit to China and a huge concern for America.
Well, and is the same true for Russia and China? Both are looking to consolidate their own allies and get those in their corner as sort of the global picture starts to shift?
Clearly, and this action in Iran moves Iran even closer in that same circle with China and Russia. Just as Iran has been supplying weapons to Russia, this effort that is beneficial to Iran at a time when they were isolated by our sanctions, at a time when they've had protests within their own country, this is really a lifeline from China to Iran. And this whole circle of authoritarian nations is getting closer together, and that coordination should be a concern for America and its allies.
Mark, before I let you go, I want to get your response to some sad news over the weekend. Bud Grant, a Minnesotan, as you are, passed away at the age of 95, former Vikings head coach for 18 years. Do you have a favorite Bud Grant memory or moment? How are you receiving this news in the last few hours?
It is something that we should honor the legend that Bud Grant was, not just as a coach, but as an individual. He was first class, made Minnesotans proud in so many ways on the field and off the field. My favorite quote from Bud Grant is that defense wins the games, offense brings in the fans. And having the strong defense as a tribute to Bud Grant's legacy is something I will always remember.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.